US social media giant Meta says it's banning several Russian media outlets from its platforms. Russian state media have been accused of using Meta's social media sites to carry out influence operations and manipulate users. Some measures have already been in place against state media in Russia, such as blocking the outlets from running ads and reducing the reach of their posts. Stokel-Walker is a technology journalist and analyst. He's also a digital culture author. He's joining us now from Newcastle in the UK. Thanks so much for being with us. These allegations against Russian state media have been made for several years, going back to at least to the 2016 election. Why do you think Meta has decided to do this at this point?
I think we've seen a steady drumbeat of more and more information being uncovered about the extent of Russian interference in Western societies. We saw most recently Russia funding several right-wing influencers and an entire media operation, an independent media operation in the United States. We saw Antony Blinken, the US top diplomat, talking just last week about how Russia is trying to covertly involve itself into Western democracies and try and sway public opinion. So I think probably to realise the sense of the scale of this influence that Russia is having on all of us, and thought better to get ahead of it now in advance of the US presidential election really reaching its final stages, so that they can avoid maybe some of the controversies that they faced in the past.
I was just wondering, though, I mean, given the fact that it is taking this action and taking it so publicly, does Meta leave itself open to allegations that it is going to siding with one political side or the other?
Yeah, I think not so much in this case, because it is pretty clear that this is basically a Russian state-backed media organization that they are taking action against. And if you think about it, really, the involvement of RT and others on Meta platforms, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Threads, which is their sort of Twitter-alike version, it is understandable. Across the Meta family of apps, there are almost 4 billion users worldwide. RT has on its Facebook group, which has been deactivated in the UK as of this morning, and we understand will be elsewhere in the world over the coming days, something like 7 million users. So this is a really easy way for people to be reached on a grand scale. So I think there will be less controversy around kind of political interference here, and maybe some more questions of why didn't it happen earlier.
So what kind of impact is this going to have on the reach of Russian media, particularly in the face, as you say, of the allegations that it's been manipulating opinion in the US and other Western governments? Does this essentially shut it down, or will people still be able to get access to it?
I think people will still be able to get access to it. Obviously, Meta is a significant part of the online environment, but it is not the only place. And we have seen, people who want to seek out this sort of information do go to increasingly fringe platforms. There are, right-wing versions of YouTube, of X, of Twitter, of Instagram, and many other platforms out there on the internet that people can go to find these bits of information should they want to. But I do think that it will have a significant blow on RT. Obviously, we saw in the early stages of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the traditional methods that RT uses to broadcast, such as through television, being impacted, particularly in the UK and elsewhere, where it was taken off broadcast. And really, it's always been much more of a digital operation than anything else, and has been pretty forward-thinking in that. So I think this will have a relatively big impact on their ability to reach people in their homes.
What impact do you think this is going to have on other state-controlled media organizations around the world? Obviously, RT is not the only one.
No, it's not, but I think it is probably the most explicitly, obviously following the rule of the government that it is serving. And so I think that, in that way, it is a little bit of a standout example of this. So I don't imagine that we will start to see tit-for-tat kind of replications of this happening elsewhere with other state-run media organizations, in part because they're not used as explicitly as a kind of branch of propaganda for each individual government around the world. So, I don't think that many of those organizations need to worry too much thinking that RT is going to be the exemplar in this case. I think it's more an exclusion rather than the rule.
It's really good to get the benefit of your expertise in this. Stokel-Walker, thank you so much.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.